Over the past couple of weeks, we have had several power outages due to different styles of storms that have come through Nova Scotia. This is something that we're not used to. We barely ever had any outages in Ontario, and the storm had to be really bad for the hydro to go out. And so our power outages right now, it's just been about maybe a half an hour or so. Philip has us running with the generator right now because actually all afternoon we've been uploading our video that would go on, which would have been last night. You guys would have seen it when this posts, but we have never been able to actually upload off-grid before, and so he's got us all set up. So we've got the fire roaring, we've got the internet going so that we can post our video. So currently there are over 70,000, just about 70,000 people in Nova Scotia homes without our power right now, and we're located down here. And so it's updating again. It updates about every 10 minutes. And so we're gonna continue all night to see more and more places without power. And so this is why we're so happy that we're prepared for these moments, because without having our wood stove, the house would be getting cold really quickly. And without having our generator, we wouldn't be able to post and actually put our work up, which is how our family makes a revenue. And then also we can even have hot chocolate and make some dinner later by the fire if we want to. So this just keeps our possibilities open when the power is out, because you never know how long. And so we've been actually keeping a track of how many times the power has gone out over the season so far, so that we can look back and know how many times this has actually happened. Because these are some of the reasons why we made some of the decisions, like putting in the wood stove, so that when things like this happen, we are actually covered. So I'm currently cleaning up my studio while we were finishing editing our video, and you can see I've got quite a mess going on here as I've been working on the launch of my new shop and everything. And so I was trying to get everything cleaned up and organized, and then the power went out, and so I'm now currently cleaning up by candlelight. Sorry about the flickering. And you can hear in the background that just outside that window there, Philip has the generator going, and we're all plugged in so that we can kind of keep going and functioning tonight. And I'm gonna get all this cleaned up by candlelight, get all the Christmas stuff put away, and then I'm just working on designing so that my shelf here that I have can get reset to no longer be Christmas, but to be my next season that I'm gonna put on there.
It's an amazing storm right now. It's absolutely almost that eerie feeling, like lots of wind coming through, tons of snow, really wet snow. I just dragged the generator up here and got it going because we lost power, we were saying, and we needed the internet. So this is our first ever video uploading with the Jenny. I'm so excited for today. Even I was itching for a storm to come where I could actually use the generator. When you get a toy, and I call it toy because it is fun to use, but I was so excited to use it, and then we had the one snow, and then we lost power once, but it was only for an hour or two, so we didn't really have to use the generator much. But as soon as I saw the storm coming through, I called it. I said, I'm gonna get the generator going. And thank goodness I did, because we needed it. And this is the first ever off-grid upload, which is so exciting as we prepared for it. Oh yeah, this is everything down here.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden. Golden things.
Okay, you saw in yesterday's video that Philip and I have started to tackle one of the rooms that will actually be connected to our kitchen. Our kitchen renovation has finally begun. Thank goodness. We have been about 7.5 months here at our 1899 abandoned home. So as many of you know, we relocated from Ontario to the big move coming to Nova Scotia to this really old 1800s house. We originally thought it was from 1920, and then we learned the really neat detail that it was actually from the late 1800s. Unfortunately, as you saw in yesterday's video, some of the previous owners, we know of at least 3 families who abandoned this home. We don't know why, many of you have been asking, but one of them actually removed quite a lot of the elements that were original to the house. One of the things that they took out that we were kind of upset about was the kitchen. although it probably would have needed a substantial amount of work. It would have been at least something we could have kept a few original components of to incorporate into the new kitchen design for the house. But we have a brand new design that's going to go into this house now. It's going to be really functional for our family. And we are going to be able to incorporate a few things that are still original, like some molding that's on the wall in that laundry pantry kind of catch-all room that was the original kitchen, as well as, you probably saw in that video, a beautiful inset in the wall, original, sort of like an armoire cabinet. I think it would be the most dreamy ever baking cabinet, where I can keep my KitchenAid mixer, all of my baking supplies, all in jars, and then there's actually 4 really deep back in the wall drawers. I would say they're at least 3 feet deep when you pull the drawers right out. It has original hardware. Inside is shiplap. It's pretty awesome, and I'm so excited that we get to leave that and we have that from the original design of the house. So I'm going to kind of feed off of that design. I'm excited to be able to carry that design in that sort of laundry pantry room. So the room that was the original kitchen is actually going to be for a homesteading pantry. And I want to make you guys think of the most dreamy, sort of Pinterest perfect, very functional, organic vibe, Scandinavian kind of style homesteading pantry. And that is actually joined onto the room that we're going to show you later this week, where we're actually going to put the actual kitchen and eat-in dining room. So this makeover, I'm going to not even call it a makeover, I'm going to call it a complete renovation, because it's actually basically 1/3 of our house being done all as one huge renovation. Eat-in dining room kitchen area, the actual kitchen, walking into this sort of Scandinavian style homesteading pantry / laundry room. So this is going to be a huge undertaking, and we're hoping that we can start this, the actual like installation of some of the elements for this, at the beginning of February. We have a lot of prep work that needs to happen before we can start installing things. Like many renovations, it doesn't happen overnight like a snap or even an 8-minute YouTube video. But I think that's what's special about our channel, is that we get to show you in real life really how long this actually takes, what the real life budget is, and then just sort of that good, the bad, and the ugly of doing your own renovations, because Philip and I will be doing the work for all of this. We're going to be building our own kitchen. We're going to be doing the plumbing and moving all of the stuff we have right now for the laundry, being able to transition from this super old house into making it look like it still belongs in this house, but with a complete new vibe. And boy, it's going to have a vibe, because I have designed what is going to be absolutely dreamy for this house. And after we've been living with no kitchen for over 7 months, I'm pretty sure any kitchen would suffice, but this is going to be up 10 levels from what was already here in this house. We're pretty excited. So one of the reasons we decided to actually have the eat-in kitchen in the kitchen part was not only because we don't really eat in a formal dining room that often, but having a studio space is imperative for our house to be able to film our content. And you know I like to work on creative projects, and so it really made a lot more sense for us to be able to have a kitchen space where we could eat and serve right off of an island that would sort of be in between the kitchen, eat-in spot, and the actual functional kitchen, where we can converse and have it as just a general area where we will be spending quite a lot of time together. And we do a lot of other things at our kitchen table, like having entertainment together, like playing board games and doing activities with the children and things like that. The other aspect of why it would be great to have an eat-in kitchen spot there is that eventually, in this room that the kitchen is going to go in, there is a patio door. And when you walk out that patio door, you fall right to the ground right now, because there actually isn't a deck space there. And if you were to envision the house on the outside, there's a patio door on the bottom, and there's a patio door right above where Philip and I's bedroom is. That will have eventually an overlooking sort of lookout balcony that will be off of our bedroom, and underneath we'll have a deck that will go all the length of the house there, that will actually have an eat-in outdoor barbecue area, outdoor seating table. It will be an extension of our kitchen, so we can kind of dine in and dine out with the kitchen right there. So we're really thinking about long-term function, not just immediate function of having a kitchen. And a lot of these elements that will be part of the kitchen will kind of be as we can budget and put things in, like adding the deck and the lookout and everything. But we want to think of the big picture now, so that we're ready to add those additional things as we go. The elements for the kitchen are going to be very organic, like I mentioned, very Scandinavian style, very minimalist. It's going to be a very clean line design, but it's going to have a lot of design elements that are going to make it very, very unique and really specific to the English family. And one of the things that we're really looking at is having pretty much an open concept type kitchen where it can really flow between that eat-in kitchen spot, the actual kitchen, and this pantry room. Because ideally, you're going to be able to access all of the materials you need for your cooking and preparing everything for your family from that walk-in pantry. So I want to explain what we had before at the old house. You probably saw we had an incredibly small kitchen, and it really didn't function very well at all. We had maybe 3 feet worth of actual sort of functional counter space. We didn't have an island. There wasn't even room on a wall in there for the fridge to go, so it kind of floated. It really was the worst kitchen ever, although we made use of it for the 7 years that we lived there. And so we've never had a pantry. We've never had a walk-in area where we could store all of our kitchen things. And we've never really had a lot of storage to be able to actually put a lot of elements that you would normally have in your kitchen. So we're really excited to have these features in our home here. There's going to be a lot of different storage solutions. So if you're someone who likes organizing and you have lots of tips, please leave them in the comment section, because I haven't had the opportunity to do this yet. And so I have a lot of ideas, but I want this to be as functional as possible. We are going to show you this week, later on, the actual room that the kitchen is going to be relocated into. And so I think that will be really neat to show you what the design is. So if you want to see this kind of laid all out before we actually start this, but one of the things that we need to do before the kitchen can actually get installed is we have some prep work to do on the walls. We have to get the rest of the flooring through that pantry laundry room, and then obviously into that large kitchen space that's going to be for the eat-in dining room kitchen as well as the kitchen space. And we have a second wood stove that needs to get incorporated into that design, because I'm going to have a wood stove in the corner of the kitchen that I can actually use as a cooktop if I want to. That being said, one of the reasons why we wanted to have that is because we've been having quite a few power outages here in Nova Scotia. There are a lot of storm reports that happen here, and in the result of that means that we often lose power for hours on end. And we've had quite a few outages over the past couple of weeks, so we know this to be true already. This is our first winter here, so we're just learning as we go, but we've been really thankful that we have been prepared for all of the elements that could possibly come our way. So something else that I want to share with you happened this week that was kind of shocking. Philip and I and the boys woke up the other morning, and we usually wake up pretty early in the morning, and so I'm really surprised that we didn't hear that this commotion was happening. So as many of you know from the beautiful drone shot footage that Philip has shown over our property here, that when you look out over our brook to the kind of kitty corner right of our property, up on a beautiful little hill, you can see that there is the most beautiful white church. It had stained glass windows. It was just a really dreamy little picturesque church shape, and it really just sat with these beautiful pine trees behind. Just a really postcard perfect spot. And in fact, many of our YouTube family members have mentioned before that we should take pictures of it to sell as postcards, and that it was that beautiful, which we agree. Before we even woke up the other morning, they had completely torn the church right to the ground.
Just woke up this morning and heard this huge machinery going, and looked outside to my surprise that they are taking the church down that is across the street. And there's currently some machines in just a huge pile of soil. You can see that the big white church was right there when you looked out off our balcony. You can see here is our brook, and that we used to look out onto that beautiful white church, and it looks like they have taken it down. We did see a couple of weeks ago that someone had come and removed the stained glass out of the church, and we heard that the land couldn't be sold because it was being used for a cemetery, and that the church was owned by, I believe, a congregation, and that at one point they were for sale, but you had to be able to buy the church to move it, and then the land would stay the same. So clearly this is the result, that the church didn't sell and the land can't be touched.
Don't you just hate it, being away from someone you just wanna hold on to? It's driving me crazy, tired of waiting. I really hate being away from you.
So even though that that we are kind of sad that the church is not there. We know that and understand that the reason they had to take the church down was because it was completely irreparable. And Philip had actually done a little tour behind the church when we first moved here. He'd been over a couple of times to just check out the beautiful stained glass.
Currently at the church, across the kitty corner to our house. It's absolutely gorgeous. Has stained glass on the front, stained glass on the back. It's beautiful, but the best part about this church is it's a great view of our house.
And he had come back to say how absolutely terrible the far back side of the church was, that you couldn't see from the porch view of our house. So although we did kind of have the good side showing to us, the far side was completely dismantled, and it just was really sad that they really couldn't fix it. But that I walked over to talk to the gentleman that were there doing the work the other day, and he explained to me that the church had tried to repair this for several years, and actually even tried to sell the church for over 20 years to someone just for even pieces or to relocate the church. And so it is one of those things that just kind of had to happen in order to keep the cemetery that's in front safe, because their fear is that the church was going to fall down and destroy the monuments that were there, which would have been absolutely terrible. And so we know from seeing them very carefully remove all the items that I think they had a plan for a few of the pieces from the church, and we know that they very carefully removed the stained glass to be able to relocate that somewhere else. So they kept all of the elements that they could. But I also, when I went over, was able to ask the gentleman, I explained to them that our YouTube family really enjoyed seeing the church in our videos, and that we had really enjoyed watching and just looking over at the beautiful church, and asked them if I could have a couple of items that were found in the kind of rubble of what had fallen from the church to be able to use as a DIY to kind of commemorate what we kind of had over across the street. And so I was excited that they gave me, I'll show you a couple pieces here. The gentleman there did let me kind of sift through, because I obviously wasn't wearing safety construction gear or anything, so they wanted to make sure that I stayed safe, because there were nails and pieces from the church all over this pile that they had mounted up to get ready to haul out. But they actually chose a couple boards for me. So I have a couple pieces of this wood tug and groove that would have been probably on sidewalls of the church. They also grabbed this sort of rail piece for me. I don't even know what this would have been from, but it has this really neat style dowels that kind of go down, which I thought I could incorporate into something really neat. And then he wanted to give me a nice thick piece that I could maybe even cut into slats if I wanted to, or do something neat with. So I have this piece here that I think kind of looks like it maybe came from a pew, or maybe a railing from the front of the church or something, and it's actually pretty heavy. I'm not entirely sure what kind of wood it is. I'm assuming it's just a pine or something, but I am planning on doing a DIY with these products, and I think it's going to be really neat to just have something in the house that came from the church. I think the church has probably been here, maybe not as long as our house, but they've definitely stood side by side for a long enough time that it deserves to have something done to kind of just keep it in this area. And so I already have a plan on what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys later this week, because I'm going to start working on it today. So today's tasks are finish painting the hallway. So Philip and I started painting the hallway, and we've gotten just one coat on, and so today I want to finish up the hallway so that is completely done, and we can get those supplies put away before we start tackling the flooring heading into those spaces for the kitchen renovation. So we have a lot going on, as well as that I want to tackle and get into doing the DIY for this with the pieces that we found from the church, because I think it's important to kind of just get that done while my creative juices are flowing and I know what I want to do with that. If you guys are enjoying the remodeling of our 1800s home, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel, and we would appreciate if you could leave a comment and like on our channel. It helps YouTube to share our videos. We love you guys, and make sure that you follow along for our kitchen renovation. See you tomorrow.